Yeah, hi everybody who can hopefully can hear me. Just sort of setting things up. Okay, looks good. If anybody else joins, I can let them in a moment. But good. So I'm hosting it again today. Bruno is unable to attend, unfortunately. So we'll be just doing the same things we've been doing. I know a lot of you now are going to be watching this as a recording, and so that's good. But I want to be able to help you develop your form a bit now too, because we've got through the whole first set. I think in this class we got through the whole first set, and it's important that you don't just do it without refining it. You want to get details correct. So we're going to go through the first set, and I'm going to focus in on a few of the main movements, and I'm going to show some alignment dynamics that need to be worked into the movement. And so one of the most important things in your practice is self-awareness as your own teacher, so that as you train the form and you work it, you pay attention to the little details about your positioning, because every little detail really makes a significant difference to the expression of the technique. And this is something that not having in-person classes is challenging us with. So I want you guys to really, really pay attention to that. And today we'll look at some of those details, and hopefully we can make more sense of it together, okay? So that's my thought. If anybody else joins in, I'll let them in. So remember the bows, grateful for the practice and with the group, and then gratitude for the history and the lineage that this is all part of. So let's warm up. Left foot forward, hands on the belly, back straight. So all the things we know now, the lower back is straightened and sinks down, the shoulders are back and down, the head is up. There's an alignment up the middle line, and it moves forward as one unit and back as one unit. And there's no dipping of the head. The head is not coming up and down at all. It's just forward and back. Exactly the same, nice and low. As you do this, visualize the area that your hands are touching, the lower torso. And think about the idea that between these 2 points on the side, the front and back, there's a center alignment where the two lines would cross. And it's in the very middle of the body, not the surface, on the skin, but the very middle. And from that point, you move forward, and from that point, you move back. And you also breathe. So as you go forward, you breathe out, and as you go back, you breathe in. So breathe out and breathe in. Breathe out and breathe in. Now, still imagining that center point, going straight up through the top of the back of the head, start to rotate it to the side, to the left. To the right. To the right, and back to the front. But as you do, your eyes stay forward. We were talking about peripheral vision last week. So that alignment here is the center of the axis of rotation, but the vision is still out. And now as you breathe in and out, let the diaphragm muscles expand to the point that it's like a balloon, a round balloon. And then it contracts and it pulls in as it does. There's a feeling of inward as it pulls forward. And now make the movement more, or flex the diaphragm muscles more. So when you breathe out, just add a gradual flexation to these muscles here. And say, as if you're kind of starting to sing and go, ah, that ah vowel sound. But the key thing is the flexation of these muscles. Now, what happens when people do this usually is they'll flex these muscles, but then they'll tense their shoulders or their elbows, because your whole body wants to do that. You want to focus the contraction of the muscle only on these muscles. Shoulders and elbows and hips are relaxed. So just 3 more. I know it's a very complicated task, but just try your best, of course. So breathe in and relax, fill the belly with air. And now only using the diaphragm muscles, breathe out and contract the muscles. Breathe in and breathe out. One more. Good. Left foot to right. Cleansing breath. Breathe in. Breathe out. Around the back of your hips and down. Around your toes and up. And then flip and push up and open. Good. And then the other side. So right foot forward. And then just start with forward and back. Forward and back. Breathing out and breathing in. And then remind yourself the crossing of the two lines, side to side, front to back, and center right here, and start to rotate and come back. Rotate and come back. Still breathing in and out, allowing the diaphragm muscles to naturally expand in a relaxed state, and then infuse themselves with as much air as they can. And slow it down. We're going to do those 3 focused breaths with the contraction of these muscles. Again, particularly the shoulders. Make sure you keep the rest of the body relaxed. Okay? So breathe in deeply, fill the belly. And now from here, in and out. One more, in and out. And then one more full cleansing breath. Up, down, around, down, all the way to the ground, on the toes, up, and then open. Good. So that was the warm-up really that focused on the body below here. Of course, we got to get the limbs warmed up, but that dynamic, of course, is everything in the Tai Chi, based on that dynamic. And we're going to come back to that when I talk about the details of paying attention to your posture, because this is it's kind of like a mandala, and this would be the center of the mandala, and every link has to be coordinated from that point. Anyway, let's warm up the limbs. So put your feet out, and now shrug your shoulders in a circle backwards. And as you do, you can rise and fall slightly too. Just like a wave going through the torso. And when you want to make sure is when you come up and back that there's an opening of the chest here and then down. So it's a full rotation back and open. The martial arts often consider this movement here as a kind of joint in itself. So it's important to learn to get the shoulders to do that. Now take that motion and throw your elbows up and back with it. So now it's just an extended version of it to the elbow. And slow that one down a little too fast. And now extend that all the way to the hands, and you'll find that your arms cross and then come out and then down. but it's still the same thing with the shoulders. So let's go reverse of that, just elbows. And then just shoulders. And then relax. And now shoulders forward by coming back and open and forward. And now it's the same thing. We're going to throw that movement into the elbow. Again, I'm rising and falling slightly. I'm not exaggerating it, but I am rising and falling slightly to throw the arms up, throw them, fall. And now to the hands, and there's a crossing above that comes down. And then drop. And then bring your hands up. Settle your weight. Shift your weight to the right. Kick with the left. 1. Settle your weight to the left. Kick with the right. 2. Make sure that your feet go from one foot to the other. And then up. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. And then settle. Somebody's trying to join the class. Okay. So here, go to your right foot, left foot comes across. Bring your left knee up high, hold it, and now draw a circle with your left foot. 1, 2, 3, backwards. 1, 2, 3. Now, think of hitting like with your heel, like a heel kick coming down and coming back up, okay? 1, 2, 3. And then step down. Right foot to left foot. Bring up the right foot. Circle forward. 1, 2, 3. Backwards. 1, 2, 3. And then a heel kick coming down. 1, 2, 3. And then step back. And then shake it off. Now, what we're going to do is a turning shaking. So I'm going to turn. And when I turn, I'm going to touch the small of my back and my shoulder at the same time and look at a point on the wall directly behind me. And then I'm going to go the other way and look at that exact same point. So each time I turn, 3 things happen. My eyes see a point directly behind me and my 2 hands touch my shoulder and the small of my back. And then back to the front, your hands fall. Pick up a large ball, bring it across to your left, draw it across the ground between your 2 feet, pick it back up, and do a full circle around. 1, make sure you're dragging it along the ground, and then up. 2, 3, 4, 5. And now the other way, dropping down on the right, up on the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then straighten up. Push your feet out. Sink down. Stretch. Change the camera angle up. Keep stretching. So I'm here, and I'm doing the little wiggles to the side to make sure the hips are just relaxing and opening. And then I turn my heels back and my toes forward, and then I bring my arms down the inside of my knee. I push my knees out, pushing out this way. Now your head should be at the same height as your hips. Extend your arms and push your back backwards, your front frontwards. And then elbow to knee, twist and look up. Other way. Straighten your back. And now turn to your left. Point your left foot straight to the left. Push into the stretch. Pushing the right foot out, but turn the toes to the left this way. So turning your foot this way. Now put your elbow on your knee and then push the foot out even further, but keep your weight on your left here. Turn to the front or to the side, straighten your back, runner stretch. Sink down, push your weight forward against your left foot. And then come back, put the left foot and the toes in the air, grab the toes, and stretch down. Come back up to runner stretch. To the middle, and then turn to the right. Push to the right. Again, the right foot is straight to the side, the left foot is turning towards the right, and the heel is being pushed out. Then lean onto the knee, push the left foot out even further, but keep your weight on your right foot. Turn to runner stretch. Heel up, back straight. Put your back knee down and push forward against your right foot. And then bring your weight back, right toes in the air, lean and grab the toes, stretch. And come back up into runner stretch. To the middle, straighten up. Hands on your back and push forward. Circle around. Other way. Ooh, that was a good stretch. And shake it off. All right. Upper body. So, put your hands out. And now, take a big breath in. And out. 2, 3. And then reach up for the ceiling. And as you reach, relax your back, especially your lower back. Relax your hips. And only stretch your hands and your shoulders. But your head is looking up. And now feel the front of your feet, right at the base of the toes. And roll your weight onto the front of the foot and push your heels up. And now focus your toes into the ground. Squeeze your toes. And then bring your heels back down. Let your hands come down. And then raise your left hand up like this, thumb down, grab with the right, and twist around behind you. Switch hands, come back to the center, and pull the other way. And then drop your hands, and then breathe in, and push up. Now, your hands are palm forward, looking up, you're stretching as all the same as before, but when you go on your tippy toes this time, you're going to turn your palms to the outside, okay? So, take a breath in, and when you go to your tippy toes, palms to the outside. And now push your thumb and your up as high as it'll go, and your big toe down as strong as it can go down. Focus on those two joints. And then bring your heels down and grab your elbow and pull behind your head. Other way, other elbow. And drop your arms. And shake it up. And then as always, and remember that these are more than just stretches, these are techniques. So this is a joint lock, this is a wrist lock. And so you want to do it to yourself and feel what happens to the arm when that happens, so that when you can apply it, you know what to do. So it's always important to keep the arm extended. It doesn't work here, it has to be extended. Grab the fingers across the pad just below where the fingers emerge from the hand, and grab in such a way that these fingers grab in, and then this finger comes on top. And then bend the finger, especially the middle joint of the finger here, towards the elbow. And what will happen is you'll see that my arm wants to go up like that. That's what you want, because that's what this is, this as a lock. Okay? And then bring your arm in. And now, the left hand is here. You put your right thumb on the back of the hand, below the middle knuckle somewhere in there. You grab the muscle of the thumb on the front, and you're going to twist like you were holding a teacup and you were rotating the teacup out. And what you want to do is you want to twist into the center of the wrist, which is an alignment that goes towards the middle finger here. So if I drew a line from here to my wrist, but inside the wrist, that's where the focus of the rotation is, through here. In traditional jiu-jitsu, this technique is called kotogayashi, and it's a very common wrist throw they use. Like Aikido does this a lot too. If you look for Aikido videos, you'll see them doing this. And then you bring your arm back out, and then this is just the other side of the coin to this one. So again, the arm is extended, and you're going to grab, but this time your fingers are going to go, or your index finger is going to go against the knuckles here, the first knuckles of the fingers, and then you're going to grab and push towards your forearm this way. So the stretch should be the underside of the wrist and the front of the hand. And shake it off. And again, that one too, it's a teacup, but you're pouring the tea now. So I'm pouring tea here. Now, the last one we'll do today is to come in like this. So this is when the hand is retracted, and it's got this zigzag shape here. And what you're going to do is you're going to put your middle finger on the knuckles of the other hand. Okay, so the middle finger on the knuckles. And then I'm going to grab the thumb, squeeze my hand this way. And then I'm going to push the index knuckle towards the forearm this way against the top of the wrist. And that is actually the first part of the Tai Chi form. Because, shake it off, this is what this technique is. When you turn, you come down and you throw the thermos. This hand is doing that exactly as that throw right there. So this is what you're practicing right here. Okay? Now, other hand, I won't talk as much, we'll just go through them. So, Remember all those details if you can, or any of those details. Give it a shake. And then finally, as always, the neck. So look to the left, look to the right. Look to the left and right. And drop and roll, drop and roll, drop and roll, drop and roll. Look forward, look up. Down, and go over. 1, 2, 3, other way. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so as I said today, I'm going to talk about how to refine the form. We will start getting into the second set, not too long from now. I intend to do that, but the idea in martial arts is often that it always is. It's better to do one thing really well than it is to do a whole bunch of things not so well. So it's really important to get some fundamental dynamics correct initially. And then everything you learn after that, and it could be different martial arts, or it could be anything, you'll have the tools to engage in them properly. Because they all have to obey certain requirements of physical movement that the human body presents that are just universal, because we have 2 arms and 2 legs, no matter who you are. So let's have a look at that. How do I explain? So the first thing I want to explain, though, is to reiterate a point that I'm sure I've made before, but I really want to reiterate this point. If I stand to do the form, and I'm facing, say, the direction of the camera, that creates a line of travel that comes straight out from my center in front of me. That implies that there has to be a line coming out the back, right? Forward and back. So you have one line, forward and back. And that's your primary movement. Like reptiles only really move forward. That's how life evolved in a way. But of course you do have left and right. So that creates 4 directions. Forward and then to the sides. That, if you put a circle around it, makes 90-degree angles. And then you turn it 45 degrees and you get another set of 4 directions at the diagonals. So you have diagonal, straight line, and straight lines. That concept of that idea of the 8 directions in a circle, the diagonals and the up and down, is a 3-dimensional concept. So you need to think of it as a sphere with the possibility of any alignment rotating to one of those points in 3 dimensions, not 2. So that's how the geometry works in the body. And the reason that you need to pay attention to do that, because if you don't, you won't be doing the move correctly. So if I move in a way that disconnects this and this, then I've actually didn't do Tai Chi. But if I do the same movement, but I connect this and this, I did do Tai Chi, because that geometry is being honored and connected. Okay. So in order to achieve this, we start from the beginning. So don't worry about this part here. We're just going to start from here. The first thing that needs to happen is that but look, if I raise my hands like this, the connection from here to here immediately increases a lot and you'll disconnect through your shoulder. But if I raise my hands in front of me, then the elbow staying low is staying connected to my center. And even when it rises to here, it connects and comes right back into it. So it's not wavering away from the center, it's just rising and falling on the center. So that's the first point we're going to look at. So your movement is from here. Keep your elbows close to your ribs. Raise your hands only, fingers down. And then when your wrists are at the top of your head, see how my elbows have risen at that point to about the height of my shoulder? Then my elbow falls back down and my hand trails like just a trajectory, like a ribbon. It just sort of hangs there, and then you pull it back in. Okay? So again, from here, keeping along this alignment of the body, past the shoulders, up. Now the elbows are rising to the height of the shoulders, which puts the wrist at the height of the top of the head, and then it rolls back down. And then here, this movement isn't just to contract the fingers, it's to connect the fingers into your center with the elbows being 1 fist distance from your rib cage only, right there. If it's here, it's not working. It has to be right there, okay? Now, what I would suggest is when you do that, contract your lat muscle, this big muscle that connects the shoulder to the hip essentially and rolls around on the side of the shoulder here. When you do this, become aware of that muscle. It's a hard thing to do, it takes a little bit of practice. And now for the rest of the form, that will be your neutral position. This will be the position from which every other position emerges from here, okay? So the first move I do is turn to the right. Now, if I turn to the right and don't move my hands at all, I've basically done the movement correctly. The hands stay in this position, body moves, and that sets up another important dynamic. The only thing that happens is my palm rotates here, but the elbow doesn't move. See? Okay, so again, you're keeping the elbows low and connected to your core, okay? So you turn. Now here, I push down my weight. But again, look, my arm didn't move at all. I just transferred my weight, and then I add a little bit to that with my hands. Right? My hands moved this far, that's it. But my body moved all the way across. Okay? So let's reconnect at the beginning. Up. Down. Pull into your center, feel the lat muscle, feel the contract, don't contract, overly contract, but feel these muscles too. Now, don't move your hands, just rotate your right palm. Now, shift your body weight and just a little bit of the hand movement comes down. Now again, to see the connection here, don't move your hands, simply pivot yourself up and aim. And notice that it forces this shoulder to come back here. And what that's doing is that's loading the shoulder for the strike or the push or whatever it is. So when I'm here and I turn, that sets up this, it's kind of like an elastic band being pulled taut. It sets up that this hip and this shoulder have to go somewhere else to release that tension. And so when you raise your hand here, when you actually bring the hand up, you keep the elbow connected and you load like you're going to throw a baseball. And see how this positioning is tight? If it's out here like this is too heavy and then this wobbles. See? It's got to be in close so that this connection and this connection can move together. So I'm here and I push down. Now, as I said, as I turn, I keep my right hand comes in close to my body and I'm holding the ball or the person's arm here with my elbow and my hip needing to go in a direction to unwind. And I step and I do that. And only here is my left elbow leaving that positioning, but it's a barrier. So I'm leaving it out as a barrier, and this hand, the elbow is still staying close. And then I come back, only body weight. Hands didn't move at all. So I go from here to here. And now, as I said, that right elbow is still within this range. The left elbow isn't, it needs to get back there. So I come back, and when I start to turn, my left elbow drops. And that sets up my turn this way. So I know I'm throwing a lot at you guys today, but I'm really trying to give you a lot to chew on, but also just show you how much refinement is available here that's so important. So let me just point out a principle. When I'm here, one elbow is connected to my core for strength. One elbow has come away from my core as a barrier and a deflecting element. I could use it to turn away different strikes. I'm going to turn to this side. And when I do, I'm going to allow this elbow to, or I'm going to allow this elbow to come in and this elbow to come out, because I always need one to be close. See, when I turn, my left comes in and it gets to this position, but my right comes up to protect my head. So I've gone from the right being the one held in to the right being the one pushed out. And again, because I think this is the theme that takes it's a lifetime, is right here when you sink and bring your elbows into here and connect to these muscles, you got to keep that connection as best you can for the rest of the form. Okay, so as I said, actually, what time is it? How far have we gotten so far? Oh, not bad, we got lots of time. Okay, let's keep going, but I'm gonna jump now to a couple different points in the form, and I welcome you and I encourage you all to take these principles and apply them to the whole form. So we just don't have time today to do everything. So one more time from the beginning, I'll face this way. We come up, and then we come down. Turn, push, up, throw away, rock back. Now turn and think about the connection to the lat muscles and which hand is away, which hand is close. Now push away, both hands come away from the body, but you're doing it against something where it makes sense to push away. Then you reach, and this is the furthest that you're gonna reach. I won't get into as much detail on these parts, but you really do reach here. And then you pull in and turn, and I'm pulling my elbows in this way to my core. I'm not coming out this way, it's going in. Into my core, and now they've reconnected. And then I do my movement here, and my movement here, and only as I throw away does my elbows come away from the body, and then they come back in, and then they push along the side of the ribs, up and out. I look to the front, and I brush aside once, and I brush aside twice. Stepping out to single whip. Looking to the front, up. Circle both hands around. Elbows are in, elbows stay in. A little bit of movement there, and then they fall, close to the body. Hands close to the body. Elbows come away, and then fall back in. And then I step, deflect, and strike. I want to look at this movement here, okay? I find that this movement's a really good one for helping people develop these details. So, where is it? One sec, where is it? There. This is a tanto. It's a Japanese wooden version of a knife. It's a training tool. And this is the thing I want you to think about with this technique, is I want you to think about somebody's trying to stab you in the belly, right? And the way that a person might do this would be like this. It'd be like talking, and all of a sudden it would just go, and it would come in like that. So you have to go, whoa, right? I have to get that out of here. So in order to do that, when I come to here, so everybody go to here. When I go to here, my right hand, as my right foot comes down, has to cross the center line and go down and across. It's not a diagonal down, it's a smooth roll down, but it ends up going from here to there as a diagonal if you were to draw the line between the 2 points. But it rolls through that. Now, that's your panic response. Okay? You're just turning your body out of the way. Now, when you do that, I better show you my feet. When you do that, and you come down and you go past your center here, look at the alignment between my shoulder and my leg and my hip. I've turned my body this way, and I've created only a very strong part of the body that's protected as to the front. Protected myself. Now that is something you see boxers doing all the time. That's what boxing positioning largely is they're gonna be like this, right? And they're gonna work on this angle. They're not gonna fight like this. They're gonna turn to the side. Okay. So if it's a knife coming at your belly, so go back to here. If it's a knife coming in at your belly, you're going to deflect it here, creating this safety sort of position here. Now, the left hand at this point should be at the center line, because it was here, And if I don't move my left hand, I keep it just where it is, one fist distance from my rib cage to my elbow, and I simply turn this way. See how it comes forward, or the body brings it to that point? Okay, so that happens. This hand then now comes down this way. And now it's going to take over controlling that knife. And I want to control the knife here. I don't want to control the knife here. I want it away where I can see it and be more aware of its movement. Okay, so it goes like that. Then, as this hand is taking over and my body is this way, I'm going to turn my hips back to the front and I'm going to bring out my right wrist and I'm going to strike with the back of my right wrist at a throat height. Of course, when you practice the form, you're always practicing against the person, yourself, right? You're imagining yourself, so your throat height is the height. Now, it only goes to there. If I extend my arm past this point, I've lost the power of the strike. The strike can only be strong until my elbow gets about here. Anything beyond that, and it loses a lot of its effectiveness. So the elbow can only move within this range here. So you see what I'm doing is I'm throwing this out to my wrist and then just freezing it right there. So that's your end position. Okay, see the positioning of my hands? Away and down in here. Now, go back to the beginning of the form from here. I turn and pull. I bring my hand up and pull. My elbows didn't move. It was here. Here, that would move a little there, but that's it. So again, this position, locking the elbows to the lats, is right there in a slightly stylized way. Okay, so one more time, back to here. Turn to the side, really align yourself this way, keep away, and then come into that position with a strike. Okay, now let's keep going. All right, now I'm only going to do 2 more movements if we have time. And that's the first of the 2. So this is probably one of the best movements in the first set in terms of just so dynamic, so amazing. They're all amazing, but this one really stands out. And it's just after this. Okay. So just to get the feet correct, make sure that you go forward to this position and then you roll back to your left foot. Now, when I do that, as I said, this elbow is still here, right? It's just turned down. I'm going to roll back and then I'm going to turn to the outside. My hand hasn't really moved. It just turned to the outside, my palms to the outside. And then I'm going to turn over the hand and come up and draw a circle around. But see how my elbow is staying right there? Now, remember when we've done this before, where we have the rectangle here, and we trace the rectangle around, and then as we come down, the fingers point up, and then they rise, and then the hand extends out to there. This is the same circle as what we're doing in the form right here. It's just that it's contained a little more. It's not a big rectangle, it's a little bit more of a tighter space. But if I was doing this move this way, and I turn towards the camera, that's the circle right here, but I'm doing it as I'm rotating my body. And then I come into position with my hand at this point. So my foot comes up with my hand, and then I can settle into my stance and complete the circle as one movement. Again, if I'm going to face the camera, so that's what the movement is. Again, notice the elbow is right there. Okay, so go to here, rock back. You haven't moved your hands yet. Now, as you turn your right foot to the left side, that's when you begin your rotation with your left hand. And then, as I said, it's when the left foot and the left hand come to the center here that the hand goes from going up to going down, and that begins the journey of the right hand coming up. So, and they cross about throat height here. So there's a moment in time where actually that happens there. here. It has to be at the center, right along this alignment here. Okay, so back to here, you turn, or you bring your weight back, then you turn, left hand begins its circle. At the high point, the body settles into the stance, and then as the left hand comes down, the right hand emerges coming up. And then from here, the position is right hand with the elbow behind you, not out to the side, but behind you, with the two knuckles here right by your eye, like this. So the idea is something can come in and I can block it this way, right? Because remember, you're taking control of the limb here. So the limb comes in and you're keeping it from getting to you this way, okay? So as that happens, this hand just comes back down to where it started. And that's an important thing to take note of. When you do this movement, the left hand is in this position with the palm to the outside. You turn and you do eagle spreads and swings. The left hand ends up in the same position. And then later in the form, you use that same position for these. That's the same position, always the elbow rotating like that. Okay, now let's have a look at the rest of that and then the last sequence. So go back to here, I come back, I turn to the left, and I draw my circle with my left hand. I settle into my stance. My left hand drops, my right hand rises. I come into the position, so this is the wings of the bird are being shown outward and strong. Now, I'm in cat stance, so my weight's all on my right foot. I'm going to let my right hip turn and bring my right elbow down towards my center here, like I'm trying to do this with my elbow. Remember the warm-up exercise here? It's that movement here. But as I do that, my hand can be thrown out. You see how the elbow throws the wrist? And of course, you're doing that very difficult hand position. If you guys remember this, right? You make a normal fist and then you push the middle knuckle up. And you're hitting with the back of the knuckle here, this way. But the main thing is that you draw the elbow down and in through the hip, like that. You see? So that's what happens from here, is I turn my hip and my hand comes into here. My left hand, as I do that, simply comes back to a palm up position here. And then I'm going to, as this falls, I'm going to turn my hips back this way, but as I do, reach out and I'm cupping air into the ear, right? So I'm shaping my hand and I'm cupping air into the ear, okay? So from here, come back, turn, up, and now one, hitting, cupping air, and now when you've cupped the air, step forward, and as you do, bring your left hand back to that position I was talking about, right? So you're here and you're just drawing that circle again, but you're stepping forward as you do with the right hand following. So that movement is really this. There's a slight delay from this to this. It's a 1, 2 rather than just 1. Okay, so back to here, back, turn, coming up, high point, foot and hand align, and then down, and as they comes down, right comes up. Now bring your weight back to the corner, and then roll your right elbow in, and pull your left hand back, and then reach out with your left hand, pull your right hand back, clear with your left, and then push with the right. Okay? Now, from here, we're going to keep going. So, all you do is reach up and forward, and come back. Push and clear. Now, brush your knee with your left hand, step and push with your right. Brush your knee with your right hand, step and push with right hand, sorry. Here, now, come up again, and then come back. Now, the next sequence we're going to look at in details to try to remember is from here. So let's just run it. I wave, I hold the tray, I extend, I strike forward, I strike down and across, and then I hook punch. Okay, so what's going on here? Let's have a look at this. So Remember, we have straight lines going in all these directions, three-dimensionally, and my alignment is always from my center, which is here. I was talking to a person who was interested in some of the Tai Chi I was doing the other day, and they were asking about Wing Chun Kung Fu, and I don't know Wing Chun Kung Fu very well at all, but I do know that it's called a center line style, and so it focuses heavily on the idea of just moving along the center line. And that's such an important concept, and this move really exemplifies it. Okay, so I come back to here. Now immediately what I've done is I brought my two hands to one point across my center line. So that means I must have deflected something this way, right? Something was striking me here, and I deflected it off to the side, okay? So there's one strike, could be a punch, could be whatever it is. And now a second one comes in, and then a third. At least that's how I'm going to teach you today. The second one comes in. So this is one, and I've deflected. I brought both hands across the center line to the side of the right shoulder here. I'm going to block the next strike with my right hand, which is the hand that's in the back. And that's a weird thing to do because you'd think the hand that's forward would be quicker, and in a way it would be. But one of the things that happens, especially if a person is punching really fast and just kind of flailing their arms, is they overwhelm the person they're attacking because the person can't keep up with the attacks. So one of the things you learn to do is to move very quickly from here to there. So I'm here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to reach out. Now, remember this idea. I'm connected to here, and my elbow is away from my body. So that means that I'm not going to go like this. I'm going to let my elbow come down and be thrown this way. So it goes one. You see how my elbow comes down and in, and then my arm swoops across? This is the motion. Boom. Okay, now let's do it slow. So go to here, drop your left hand, forget about it. Now drop your elbow and turn your hip and reach across with the fingers, or sorry, the palm I should say, on a slight angle to the side so that you can skim across the limb that you're blocking, this way. Okay, so from here, drop the elbow and skim the arm across this way. That's how that block works. Here, it's very fast, and what it does is, as I said, this danger is a very real danger of an attacker being so just intense that they overwhelm people, is it sets you up to be able to do another block very quickly. There's a whole pattern here that I can develop more in time. And so what you do is, as you reach out with your right, and you do this, your left hand comes in across your belly, right, like this. And that means that when this hand's exhausted its movement range, and I have to pull it back, the other hand can come out at the same time. Okay, so it's 1, 2. And that's my teacher, Tai Chi teacher, often would say that represents part of what's he called the universal blocking pattern, which is just that every martial art, every boxing even would have this. It's this idea of changing between the two hands like this as a way to defend yourself against an intense attack. So here, I reach out with my right, and then my left comes out, my right comes back at the same time. There's a moment here, and this is another block, right? I'm reaching in and blocking the guy to the outside of that arm. Now, I did all of that in cat stance. So if you go back to here, you reach in cat stance, and then you extend out in cat stance here. I'm still in cat stance. Now my left foot at this point is to the front, here. It's going to step across the line slightly, this way, out. And then I'm going to take my weight forward, and as I do, I'm going to simply push my right hand forward like this. But see how little movement my arm actually does? It's just my hip rotating to here, like this. And this is a strike with the outside of your wrist here, against the sternum here, okay? So you're hitting that sternum with this part of your hand, but your elbow does not go away from your body. This is only here, okay? So we do that again from here. I reach out, I put my left hand out. Now, left foot comes forward,
My hips turn and push my right hand forward. My left hand comes up beside my head. So this is a new position. This hasn't happened in the form before to this point. So my left hand's up here. Now, the elbow is away from the body, and I've created a barrier. As I said, that's what you're always doing when you do this. But what I need to do is, because this elbow's in, remember that principle that one elbow's in, one elbow's up? Is I need to get this elbow back in, even if it pulls this one away. So I go 1, 2, and then I'm going to turn back, and my elbow's gonna fall, and that will draw my hand down this way. Diagonal line with my wrist bent to hit with this part of my hand here. Okay, so it's here, and then it draws down to strike there, right along the side of the jaw. Okay, so go back to here, you reach out again. Now, 1, you're hitting the sternum. 2, you're hitting the jaw. And you're drawing your elbow into your center to do it. Now your right hand had pulled back at that point, like this, and it's gonna close. And now, I'm gonna turn my hips, and one of the things you wanna do is you don't wanna do this here. What you wanna do is you wanna come out here and rotate it only at the last second. So the elbow's staying kind of close. It's not this, it's this, okay? It's a really difficult technique, but I'll do it one more time this way. So I'm here, I'm not doing this. My elbow tries to stay hidden until the last moment when I rotate out, okay? Okay, so let's do that one more time. From here, reach out. Elbows close to the body, 1, 2, and now keep that hook punch tight. 3. Okay, let's do the form as a review, and then that'll probably be the time we have. So, beginning of the form, relax. Sink your weight down into your heels. Step out. Hands fall. Look forward. Begin. Remember, I'll try to remember everything I talked about. All right. Anybody have any last questions? It's a long journey. I hope you're enjoying it. And I'll see you guys again on the next week. Thank you very much.